What's going on, Breaking Brown family? Please, please, please get your libations. You might need a little bit of that chamomile tea, whatever your preference is, you might need it. Because we have to have a conversation. But before we do that, we always do a bit of housekeeping. Please, fam, hit that like button. If you have not hit that like button already, please hit that like button for me. It is important. The lights just flash on. Brownouts. But listen, please hit that like button. Please hit subscribe. Please share. You can also go to patreon.com/ycarnell and donate. We have also, do not forget, fam, I don't want to get too into it, but do not forget the book club. It's 21st of March. It's a Thursday. American Slavery, American Freedom we will be discussing. So we will have 3 shows that week instead of 2. March 21st, so keep that in mind. Also, for those of you who have not gotten your tickets, the inaugural ADOS conference, October 4th and 5th in Louisville, Simmons College of Kentucky. So please, 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 if you have not gotten your tickets. The tickets are $15. And we are going to, and you can go to ADOS101.com, ADOS101.com. And you can find out, about what our agenda is and a lot of the specifics that we're going to be talking about. You can also subscribe to the newsletter, because one of the things I'm talking about today was in the newsletter on Sunday. The newsletter goes out every Sunday with links that I think are important to understanding what American DOS is, who we are, and what we need to do in terms of our agenda. And a lot of people are like, well, they ain't got no agenda. They just out here. And yes, we do. We have a very specific agenda. And before the conference, I'm going to make it even more specific in terms of what we have to do and what our roles are. Okay? So please do that. You can also go to donatebrown.com. All that good stuff we can do. So if you have your libations ready, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a conversation. Now, a lot of you all can basically recall, or a lot of you all have been online with me. We've been on Twitter together. I've seen a lot of you on Twitter. We've been on Twitter together, fighting the Twitter fight together, and accusations of it's all bots or it's all Russian meddling and all kind of weird stuff that we've come up against from people who's supposed to be black like us. Flat black, same black, no. ADOS like us, right? Oh, no. So one of the things that I wanted to frame this evening, because one of the charges that we keep getting is that we're xenophobic, and that we're radical, and that we're really outside of the mainstream in terms of what we're doing and how we're moving, and what's wrong with these ADOS people, these American descendants of slaves people? Why are they advocating for themselves? Negroes are not supposed to advocate for themselves. They're supposed to just toe a line. It's good for the party, right? No. So what I wanted to do was just kind of take this show and frame for you and for people who are watching this show why what we're doing actually isn't radical at all. Do you remember the other show we had about the Holocaust, and the descendants of the Holocaust were standing in the shoes of the descendants of Holocaust people who were murdered and killed in the Holocaust? Their descendants were described as standing in the shoes of those people. And what I want to kind of present today is that we are standing in the shoes, and rightfully so, of our ancestors. There's nothing radical about what we're doing. So let's talk about one man in particular as we have this conversation, because you all know Alexander. Alexander's a friend of the show. And Alexander and I it was like last week or something, we were having a conversation. And Alexander mentioned this case. He mentioned we have discussed on this show before, we have discussed the case. How many of you all remember the affirmative action case? It's University of California, Davis versus Backey, I think. And that's the case where they decided that diversity was more important than redress and justice for American descendants of slaves. Right? They decided that what's more important right now is not, or what's more important in terms of going forward, is a sort of colorblind diversity as opposed to justice for this specific group. And so there was something very specific. Listen, we've done this before. For those of you who all are new, these are crayons. I got all different kind of colors. We've done this. We've talked about this. I got purple. I got blue. I got all different colors of brown. It's all kind of crayons of color in my coloring box. I got all kind of orange. Look at that. All those yellows. Those are all kinds of colors. Let's just call these people of color. These are crayons of color. We'll just call them people of color. Let these be stand-ins for people of color. Crayons of color. Let them be stand-ins. So just consider these all the rainbow of the world and the people of color. This, in all of its beauty, this right here, these are beautiful, colorful crayons. But in all of the beauty of these crayons, and there are beautiful, colorful people all over the globe, they do not have the same justice claim as a people who have suffered a specific injury from a specific country. And that is the case that Justice Thurgood Marshall tried to make in the 1978 landmark affirmative action case. Now let's take it, and here's a picture of this is a good picture of Thurgood there with Roy Wilkins, I think that is, and Dr. King. But if you understand exactly what I'm saying, you will understand that one thing. Well, you'll understand a couple of things. You'll be able to make it so, or to make people understand, even if they don't want to understand, you'll be able to make them understand something that's very important for the case that we're trying to make. You'll be able to make them understand that we are advocating for a specific injury. We are not advocating for just different kinds of colors. Colors don't matter. That's just what skin pigment does. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about this. We're not talking about this. We're not talking about this. These are just colors. People of color is just pigment. That's just melanin. We're talking about a specific justice claim. So let's go to the case. Let's go to this case that we're talking about. Thurgood Marshall and the need for affirmative action. And let's go to some of the things, in order to explain this, let's go to some of the things that Thurgood said in his dissent on that case. Let's just go to this. This is first. Now listen, 300, this is Thurgood, this is Justice Thurgood Marshall, the late, may he rest in peace. Writing here, 350 years ago, the Negro was dragged to this country in chains to be sold into slavery, uprooted from his homeland, and thrust into bondage for forced labor. The slave was deprived. The slave was deprived of all legal rights. It was unlawful to teach him to read. He could be sold away from his family and friends at the whim of his master, and killing or maiming him was not a crime. The system of slavery brutalized and dehumanized both master and slave, right? So this is saying you just bad. The people who enslaved us, you all are the problem. And you have created, in your dehumanization of us, you have created another entire dehumanizing class of people. That's what Thurgood is basically saying now. Now let's just keep moving forward for just like 2 seconds. The individual states likewise established the machinery to protect the system of slavery through the promulgation of the slave codes, which were designed primarily to defend the property interests of the owner in his slave. The position of the Negro slave as mere property was confirmed by this court in Dred Scott versus Sanford, holding that the Missouri Compromise, which prohibited slavery in portion of the Louisiana Purchase territory north of Missouri, was unconstitutional because it deprived slave owners of their property without due process. Understand what Thurgood is telling you in that moment. The same court that is telling me, the same court that is saying we can't get redress, is the same court that set this whole thing up. So wait a minute, you helped set up the system of slavery. You helped set up the system of slavery in this institution. And now you're telling me in this institution that this institution cannot be used for redress. This institution can only be used for colorblindness. So, see, understand something. When we slow down, understand one thing I say. This is not saying that no other group has been discriminated against in terms of, because that's what people love to say. Well, I can't catch a cab. Sometimes I can't find a cab. And that make me just like you. Do you think the police officers see? We're not talking about, when we have this conversation, please understand, we're talking about we are the only group, American descendants of slaves, that has been multi-generationally, consistently, habitually relegated to an underclass in this country, where the government has consistently weaponized itself and all of its institutions against American DOS. That is only us. No other group has that claim. No other group. I don't even care what group you are. When you walk into a room, nobody knows that you are. When you walk into a room as an American DOS person, we have been made, people know. Everybody, this is an underclass group. We're an underclass group. And everybody knows it. And that's what we're dealing with. That's the lack of wealth. When you continually oppress a group, and that's what Thurgood is saying. Thurgood is saying in that thing, in that opinion, we have been habitually, this institution won't fix what has happened specifically to us, not people of color, specifically to this group. Even though this institution, the Supreme Court, has been weaponized against who? This group. That's what Thurgood is telling us. Now here's another part of it. The status of the Negro as property was officially erased by his emancipation at the end of the Civil War. But the long-awaited emancipation, while freeing the Negro from slavery, did not bring him citizenship or equality in any meaningful way. Slavery was replaced by a system of laws which imposed upon the colored race onerous disabilities and burdens. I want you to pay attention to that word, disabilities. I want you to pay attention to that. I also want you to pay attention to a word you just saw, citizenship. Slavery was replaced by a system of laws which imposed upon the colored race onerous disabilities and burdens and curtailed their rights in the pursuit of life, liberty, and property to such an extent that their freedom was of little value. Understand what he said. 2 words, citizenship. What do I talk about all the time on this show? Don't I talk about citizenship all the time? Don't I talk about citizenship all the time and how we haven't been allowed to really be citizens of this country? We're not just a flat black group. We're not somebody who just got here. You build a country and then you're not allowed to be citizens. That's what Thurgood Marshall was saying, Justice Thurgood Marshall to the Supreme Court, that we haven't enjoyed the fruits of this country. That we haven't been made citizens. That we have been relegated and made into a disabled group. Disability. Listen, you don't write a Supreme Court dissent without being very specific in terms of your words. Blackness has been in terms of American blackness, not a generalized hue or color or complexion. That's a con game. Blackness in this country has relegated us to the position of having a disability. You are a contagion to wealth. You are an underclass. That's what happened to us as this group, and that's what Thurgood is getting to when he describes these. Let's go on for just a few seconds. Just bear with me. Despite the passage of the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments, the Negro was systematically denied the rights of those amendments. The combined actions and inactions of the state and federal government maintain Negroes in a position of legal inferiority. Let's go on to the next one. The Southern states took the first steps to re-enslave. Please, if you don't remember that, write it down. To re-enslave the Negroes immediately following the end of the Civil War. Many of the provisional legislatures passed black codes similar to the slave codes, which, among other things, limited the rights of the Negroes to own or rent property and permitted imprisonment of breach of employment contracts. Over the next several decades, the South managed to disenfranchise Negroes in spite of the 15th Amendment by various techniques, including poll tax, liberally complicated ballots, etc., etc., etc. Now, you have to listen to what Thurgood Marshall and understand what Thurgood Marshall is saying there. What he's saying is that we're not citizens, and that we were re-enslaved. I said before, listen, what happens every generation with ADOS is that we get re-enslaved in a different way. So you had slavery. Okay, you took it back over. You didn't protect us. And so Dixiecrats and even people in the North, they found ways to re-enslave us, right? And so even today, mass incarceration is a sort of re-enslavement. It's just the enslavement happens every generation. It just has a different kind of manifestation. And that's what he's speaking to. This different kind of manifestation of slavery that is just rethought up. It's a different way to put us on the bottom. I don't care whether you have Reconstruction. I don't care whether you have Jim Crow. I don't care whether you have convict leasing. I don't care when you had slavery or when you had. It's just redlining. Every generation, there's something else that is instituted to make us a part of a bottom class, a bottom caste, all over again. And that's what he's saying. We have had the institutions of our own government weaponized against us. We have not been protected. Your government is supposed to protect you. Your government is not supposed to be weaponized against you. And if your government is weaponized against you, what's supposed to happen once that is, we've all come to terms that was the wrong thing to do. Okay, you have to make that right. And you don't make that right by not making whole a specific group, but by giving all the Crayola. You don't make it right by giving all the Crayola the same thing. This does not signify the group that was harmed. When Thurgood Marshall, look, let me show you something. There are two parts in this dissent where he keeps listing two races. He don't say a bunch of different races, a bunch of different ethnicities. Two races. Two races. He talks a lot about these two races, white people and black. And when he says black, he's talking about a specific group that suffered harm. Not talking about these people, because before the Immigration Act of 1965, you just had white people, black people. And we're talking about descendants of slaves and white people. That's all we had. Now what is happening is that other groups are masking our failure, and they're getting the fruits because they confuse white people. White people don't know the difference. They brown, they can get the diversity. No, specific group. It's not Crayola. We're not going to do Crayola politics, and there's nothing radical about what we're doing. There is not one thing radical about what we're doing, about what I'm saying. That's the same thing Thurgood said. That's the same thing he said. Strangle efforts for equality. Now now understand. And people started calling us, look at this, well, we have to read this. Let me read this for you. As Mr. Justice Harlan noted in a dissent, however, the Civil War amendments and the Civil Rights Act did not make the Negroes special favorites, because that's what everybody loves to say. Well, y'all just got to be what y'all going to be now. We just can't keep picking favorites. Y'all just got to be whatever you're going to be, and that's just what it is. We're not going to keep picking favorites with y'all. We can't keep doing that. But listen to what he said. It says, Mr. Justice Harlan noted in dissent, however, the Civil War amendments and the Civil Rights Act did not make the Negroes special favorites of the law, but instead sought to accomplish in reference to that race what had already been done in every state of the Union for the white race. Read that one more time. Did not make the Negroes the special favorite of the laws, but instead sought to accomplish in reference to that race what had already been done in every state of the Union for the white race to secure and protect rights belonging to them as freemen. and citizens, nothing more. I want you to understand what you're reading. First of all, you're reading a giant, regardless of anything else. But I want you to understand what this means in terms of how we have this conversation. You have to understand what this means. When you look at this 1965, 1978, I'm sorry. The 1965 was the Immigration Act. When you look at this 1978 case about affirmative action, University of California Back versus Backey, what you're seeing is that what Thurgood Marshall is saying is the same thing that I'm saying. It's the same thing that you're saying. So people who say that we're being radical either don't know history or they're lying. I don't know which one. And I don't really need to know. I just know that I'm right. I just know that we're right. That's all I need to know. I don't need to know all this other stuff. I know that we're standing on the right side of this thing, and that everybody who is calling us bots and xenophobic is standing on the wrong side. That's all I really need to know. I don't need to know nothing else. I don't need to fit straddle. I know that diversity is a con. Diversity is a way for Democrats to just pass around the pie to everybody. And you have to understand that when you talk about Thurgood Marshall, there was also Justice Powell, who said, well, we have to have a certain colorblindness going forward. And we can't, and they were talking about we can't necessarily do reverse discrimination. There's no such thing. There is a cost, people. There is a cost that listen, white America, if you're watching, there is a cost. If you really want us to be okay, there is a cost that you have to pay. Because you benefited. And colorblindness, let me tell you what colorblindness is. Colorblindness is kind of like saying, I don't see color. Well, it's kind of like if somebody's walking around and they got an arm cut off. They got one arm cut off and 4 fingers on the other hand. And you walk past them and you say, I don't see injury. I'm injury blind. What does that make you? What does it mean for you to be blind to our injury? What does that mean? That makes you a predator. That makes you an abuser. Listen, after you make us whole, after you do everything and make us whole for all these 400 years, then we can be colorblind. Then we can say we got made whole, we can start from zero. You don't get to be colorblind when you haven't done what you're supposed to do. You don't get to be colorblind when you haven't taken your responsibility. You don't get to be colorblind when you haven't made any kind of sacrifice to make up for 400 years. Listen, this is not 10 years or 20 years. This is 400 years and it's still going on. You don't get to be colorblind. If you say you're colorblind in America, if you say you don't see the injury of systemic oppression to descendants of slaves in this country, what you are saying is not that you're colorblind. What you're saying is that you don't care. What you're saying is that you don't see injury. And a person who doesn't see injury to American descendants of slaves, slavery was an institution. A person who doesn't see injury is playing a con game on you. And anybody who tries to disperse, like just throw diversity at everybody. Because let me show you what we also see. Let me bring this up really quick, just so we understand. Just so we kind of have an idea. Stop telling me, well, white women couldn't vote either. Yeah, why? But does it really matter if you had slaves? As a white woman, does it really matter if you were in the house with the white man? He said a new history reveals that for female slave owners, the business of human exploitation was just as profitable and brutal as it was for men. This was in the newsletter if you got the newsletter. Listen, please tell me, and I'm asking, please tell me, how do you get affirmative action, which was designed for American descendants of slaves, as a white woman who could have owned slaves, or whose husband owned slaves and had property? You didn't want to stop the slave money. You just wanted to make sure you were in control of it. That doesn't make you my ally. See, the problem was you didn't have any problem with owning slaves. You had a problem with the fact that your husband got all the money and he got to tell you how to use the money from the slaves. You don't get affirmative action because of that. That is absolutely not how any of this works. We have had a whole lot of people getting affirmative action off of diversity, and this was a wrongly decided case. But when you take this all the way out, what you see is that this case kind of projected into America. And so we not only have a wrongly decided Supreme Court case, we have a wrongly decided America. We have America that just puts us in the same category of all brown people and throws us in the pot of diversity, where our 400 years does not mean anything. And that is what we're fighting against. Because if we don't, let me tell you something. If we don't get our justice claim now, if we don't make this a clarion call now, it's over. Don't look for nothing else. It's finished. I put up a Facebook page about Kahlua, what's his name, playing Fred Hampton. We had 12 Years a Slave. Harriet Tubman was played by Cynthia Erivo. These are our heroes, our giants. We can't even play ourselves. Do you think you're gonna be able to get a job? Between that and between like open borders coming from very poor and impoverished countries, diminishing our citizenship, what do you think your life looks like? What do you think your life looks like in 10, 15, 20 years with what we're experiencing? How do you think your kids are gonna, like I've told somebody before, why don't you just listen? If you really believe open borders is good, and don't tell me you're not people who tell me, well, I'm not advocating open borders, you a lie, because you won't tell me what should be the foundation, what should be the barometer for citizenship. We have to have standards. What is the standard for citizenship? Well, I think it's wrong to just leave them people at the border. Well, countries have borders. People can let the borders all the time. What is the barometer? I've said the barometer should be jobs that can't be filled. If you have jobs in this country, and we have trained Negroes and trained all the Negroes who want to be trained, and trained all the Appalachian white people or whoever else that want to be trained, and we still don't have enough, then we can open up the border to work visas, but not citizenship. You can have a work visa, come here and go home. Some people can be citizens, but then there's a whole other standard for citizenship. Not just like field work. No. But nobody can tell me on the left what your standard would be. On the right, you have a lot of racism. Just, I don't like brown. On the left, you have people, I don't know, I just think it's mean. It's all just so mean to do that. It's so mean. Like, what are you, 5? This is the real world. This is not a strawberry patch. You know that, right? Not a strawberry patch. So as we go forward, like we need to make that clear that we're not a special favorite in the country that we built and have been maligned in. We have to make that very, very clear, because people don't seem to understand that. And people don't seem to understand that, like, these are just crayons. I keep bringing this out because people don't understand. People say we're all people of color. All of these, fam, and new people watching. I don't care if you're mad. It don't upset me at all. You can be mad all day long. I sleep well at night. These are crayons. Crayons are color. Just like people come in all different color. You coming in a color that resembles our color does not mean that we have the same justice claim. It does not mean you should get access to affirmative action. It don't mean none of the stuff you think it means. Let's just put that out there. Let's just be clear. I'm just trying to be clear. I'm just trying to be clear with everybody so everybody can understand. You know, Martha Washington's ownership. What you have to understand, there's a book out about Ona Judge, who was your first president's slave. But it's interesting how that slave came to be. It was Martha Washington's ownership that left her a slave, not George. So it wasn't George Washington. The slave wasn't George Washington's slave. It was his wife's. It was Martha's slave. So the same white woman who owned Ona Judge and all these other slaves can now come and get the affirmative action intended for the people she owned. Let me say that again. The Martha Washington, who owned slaves, Her kids now, her female children, could now come and get the affirmative action designed for the people that Martha Washington owned. How did we let this happen? What kind of failure in leadership allowed us to let white women get affirmative action? I don't understand what's happening. Martha owned them slaves, and George just married well. George Washington married well with Martha. He got all her slaves. But now her female descendants could get affirmative action just like the people that she owned. And if you read this article that I have up, you will see it wasn't just having those slaves and marrying it. Some of those women just owned them slaves by themselves and just were brutal barbarians. But now that same group can get affirmative action. You know, we have to understand. You know, one thing we have to understand. I keep getting this. I keep getting this argument online. Even when I talk about black immigrants playing these roles, I get this all the time. Because it's all the same. Martha Washington ties into everything. Everybody is getting something from ADOS that they shouldn't be getting. And so Martha Washington had the slaves that George Washington married into. Right? Right? And but nowadays, as a white woman, she can get affirmative action just like the slave. So now Martha Washington and her slave are the same based on the policy that we have. How insane is that? But it's the same thing when I talk about, black immigrants who, I don't know whether or not you sold my people. Like, that should be the first thing you got to explain. Did your people sell my people? I need to see some paperwork. Something. You got to tell me something. You got to give me. But even when we get outside of that, I have this whole thing, and I try to, I say, well, you shouldn't be playing that role, because acting isn't just about reading lines off a script. It's about using your own experience in reaction to the other actor you're acting with. That's why Get Out. That's why Kahlua was so bad in Get Out. He couldn't react as an American black man. He was reacting as a man from London, where they had been doing interracial dating for a long time. So he didn't have the internal fortitude, and he's not a good enough actor anyway to really do that. That's a whole nother story. The problem that we have, people will come to me and say, well, Yvette, people think Eddie Murphy played in the Zamumba, he played Coming to America. And you had Forrest Whitaker play Idi Amin, Uganda. What you talking about? Y'all play Africans all the time. Ha! And you think you got me, but you're just kind of a moron. These are American actors for the most part, sometimes in British movies, but for the most part, these are American actors in American movies. So if Eddie Murphy plays an American actor in an American film about a fictional African country, that doesn't belong to you. He's an American. This is an American film. He's an American actor. That's America and America. Now, when I start coming to Uganda and taking your opportunities, let me know. When black actors start going to Nigeria and taking opportunities in Nigerian cinema, you let me know. I'm here. I will tell them quick, come bring your butt home from Uganda and stop playing out there in the little theater. You all try to act like we're not American. That these are American actors in American films. The problem seems to be to me that a lot of you all aren't fighting or building where you come from. Why aren't you fighting or building cinema in Nigeria or Uganda or wherever you come from? And those of you who are black Brits, you'll just say, well, you know what? It's getting hard out here, so I'm coming to America. I can't find no role. Well, hold on. Wait a minute. Wait. We paid the cost here in America, though. We fought a good fight. We fought not only for roles in cinema, we fought for how we were going to be portrayed in cinema too. We fought for all of that, and now you going to come here and eat the fruit just because you want to run? No, turn your tail back to London and figure out and fight for your right to have movie roles in London. You don't get to y'all got to stop running. Y'all be running y'all be running from Nigeria to London and London to America, wherever there's opportunities. This is scavengerism. Stop running and fight. We have always fought in this country. I need you to fight too. You need to fight for yourself. America, ADOS can't fight the fight for everybody and get opportunities here and everybody just take off running here. Because then what happens to our actors? And we come from slaves. We're going to need more time to figure stuff out. And I don't know. I keep hearing this stuff all the time. Well, they're Shakespearean trained. Doesn't make you better. Go play Othello then, honey. If you Shakespearean trained child, go play Othello. Because y'all ain't good in these movies. Everybody loves Idris Elba. That's because y'all think he cute. Did y'all really think... I'm going to ask a question. And I'm going off script. Did y'all really buy Idris Elba as a black man, an ADOS man from Baltimore in The Wire? Because when I watched it years ago, I never bought it. I was like, where's he from? I never bought that he was from Baltimore. I've been to Baltimore. I know he ain't Baltimore. When I saw him, like when he started talking, like sometimes a little British accent would slink out, and everybody's still just like, well, you know, he's. You can think he's sexy. That's not the same thing as thinking like he really played like a dude from Baltimore. I think, you know, we got to get out of this stuff when we hear accent or something like that. We really we give people so much credit. We give people, oh, he just. No, you just think he cute, and that's fine. You can think he cute, but I didn't buy him as a Negro from Baltimore. I'm gonna tell you that. And I didn't buy the little dude in Get Out as like an American black man. No, that would have been a lot of different reactions from an ADOS in that situation that he was in. Some funny, some horrible, some gut-wrenching, because he would have been able to pull on different experiences, because that's what actors do. Actors don't just read lines. I need somebody to tell that to my man, because he just reads lines. So, what I'm trying to, as I go around what I'm saying, I'm just trying to make something very, very clear. And I'm trying to come to the end of as what I'm talking about in terms of the Thurgood Marshall and the back and that affirmative action, 1978 affirmative action case. What I'm going to say almost last is that this, like when I saw this part right here, in Thurgood's dissent, it gave me chills. And when I put it up, you'll see why it gave me chills. What we do is data. And what Thurgood went to was data. He said a Negro child has a life expectancy shorter than 5 years than that of a white child. He said the Negro child's mother is over 3 times more likely to die of complications in childbirth. He said, and the infant mortality rate for Negroes is nearly twice that for whites. The median income of Negro family is only 60% that of the median white family. And that's just income. We deal with wealth most often, but that's just income. And the percentage of Negroes to live in families with income below the poverty line is nearly 4 times greater than that of whites. He said the unemployment is nearly 3 times that of whites. A Negro male who completes 4 years of college can expect a median annual income of $110. He's getting much less. And he went on and on. Like, he went on and on with what we talk about. He went on and on with the data. And I thought about that and I said, for all this talk of black wealth and all this stuff, what you realize is that if this country doesn't do right by us, we are stuck. And the reason I say that is because all of the stuff that Thurgood mentioned as opposed, with the except of like the youth rate or the youth unemployment rate, it's the same or close to the same. That tells you that we have a structural impediment. That's not something that you can overcome with individual aspiration. Why America's black mothers and babies are in a life or death crisis. And let me read you a quick quote. Let's read a quick quote from this article because it kind of goes to what I said. Black women are 3 to 4 times as likely to die from pregnancy-related causes as their white counterparts, according to the CDC. A disproportionate rate that is higher than that of Mexico. Mexico. where nearly half the population lives in poverty. And as with infants, the high numbers for black women drive the national numbers. Listen, what that is telling you, whether you realize it or not, is not the issue. What that is telling you is that we live in this country as ADOS, American descendants of slaves. We live a third world life in a first world country. Y'all trying to let Mexicans in saying they get a better life when you live like Mexicans right now. Let the Mexicans in. They need to do better. Do you understand that black women, in terms of what we're talking about, in terms of like the babies and infant mortality and all that, do you understand that like that is Mexican life right now? Do you understand that like we're living a third world life right now? We are the third worlders that America should be dealing with. We are the third worlders that America should have to account for. You want to go over there and bring third worlders in when you live in a third world life over here? How? Why? You can't help nobody in this situation. No, you got to make me whole. Everybody else got to pause. Pause. Right over there. Please pause. You know, I don't, that's your business. That's your business. You need to pause because we got stuff we got to handle over here. These people, Uncle Sam over there ain't gave me my money and my access and my opportunity. I need that right now. And I'm living a third world life, rich country in the world. So you just pause right there at the border or turn around, do whatever you got to do. I can't deal with that right now. I can deal with American foreign policy. And we should all say that American foreign policy needs, the adventurism abroad is a problem. But that's the landscape that you deal with that. You deal with that on the foreign policy landscape, not in some domestic open borders, I feel sorry kind of scenario. That's just stupid. At some point, we got to just stop being stupid. I know it's hard. It doesn't make any sense. And one of the other things that we have to do, as we deal with what we're dealing with, we have to stop. And this is absolutely essential. Because when you look at what we are dealing with, when you look at what Thurgood said, and you look at how much hasn't changed, I want you to look at this chart real quick. Racial disparities and concentrated poverty. And the purple is the black. And the green is the white. And I want you to look at that concentration. This is not just one place. We're looking at it throughout everything. And I want you to look at how long that purple goes in terms of the disparities in racial poverty. Now, this is from, if you want to look it up, it's in this article, right? Black poverty from 2015. So this is far worse now. Black poverty differs from white poverty. We're poor. So people is like, well, they poor too. It's not the same. It differs. You have to know the specificity of poverty as well. I want you to look at Los Angeles. Look at how far that purple goes. That's that purple. That's concentrated poverty. That's us. That purple is us. That is concentrated poverty. I want you to look at the difference in that purple line and the difference in that green line. Please look at that. I'm going to go, that's Atlanta. I'm going to go down. This is DC. Right? Dallas, Riverside, California, Phoenix, Philadelphia, Minneapolis, St. Paul, San Diego, St. Louis, Tampa, Baltimore. Look at Baltimore. But it's all awful, but look at Baltimore. And y'all let Idris Elba play that role. Like, look at what Baltimore looks like, and y'all couldn't even let one of our actors play that role. We ought to be ashamed of ourselves. We really should. Let me see. Seattle, Denver, Oakland. Understand, when you look at all of those cities, you see the differences in concentrated levels of poverty. We are on the bottom, and not just a little bit on the bottom. There's a whole bunch of room between that purple and that green. Understand that, and understand what that says about your life. That says about our life as a group. It says that the consequence of slavery and redlining and convict leasing and Jim Crow and everything and mass incarceration is held with us. It's not held in some generalized black population. It's held with us as a specific group, and we have to advocate for that specific group. I don't care who says what to you, how or when. It's clear that we are right. You can't fence travel on this. We right. You don't get to do diversity and come here and say I'm black just like you. You a lie. The data is very clear. There is no fence straddling. Don't come to me in my inbox talking about, well, he did have a point right here. No, he didn't. You just don't know enough to know he didn't have a point. And we've been here a long time talking. How do you not know? There's a whole Goodreads of books that you can go read that help you get to this space. But ain't nobody got no point. Stop trying to hear both sides. Well, I heard his side and I heard your side and I'm trying to be in the middle. There is no space for middle. This is it. It's either advocate specifically for this group now or be locked out. It's it. There is no other way to go. There is no middle ground. And victors don't do middle ground no way. If you want to be the victor, if you want to be the champion, if you want to be the one who comes out on top, you don't do middle ground. You do winning. There is no one. People keep talking to me. Look at this. And this is from this study. White families have nearly 10 times the net worth of black families, and the gap is growing. And understand that this doesn't even tell the whole story. You know why? It doesn't take out depreciating assets. Depreciating assets are not wealth, so they don't take out your car or your new sofas or whatever, and that's a depreciating asset. So understand, even that isn't right. But look at where we are. Every time you see a little line on the bottom, that's American DOS. Every graph with us that has to do with money or wealth or opportunity, it's a little Negro line on the bottom. Built this country with everything and we ain't got nothing. And y'all want to give somebody a point. Well, they do, they make a good argument sometimes. No, you just don't understand that they really made a bad argument. They want us to be finished. They used us for the cotton and all that stuff. They want to be done. They don't want to deal with us anymore. Do we not understand that? And the last thing I want to say before I go to break, I have something very important that I really kind of want to add about this flatness of blackness that we keep hearing about. We're all black. I heard this more. I know we've kind of Breaking Brown family. I know we've kind of discussed this a little bit before, but I keep hearing this so much more now. We all black the same, and we all Pan-Africanism, and we all listen. There are disruptions and differentiations and ways that people distinguish themselves all over the world. There is no such thing as any kind of unified flat blackness that has anything to do with melanin or kinky hair. That doesn't exist. That's something they made up. That's something that people make up when they get here so they can access Americanism by becoming a part of our group and blending in. It's not the same thing. Oh, Yvette, no, you're wrong. Okay, well, okay. This was like 2-3 years ago. Immigration rules in the Bahamas sweep up Haitians. Did the Bahamians say, well, we're all black, we're just going to protect them? No, nobody looks at life that way as we all black. There are resources. There is citizenship. And I think, what country was it? One country, it may have been the Dominican Republic, revoked birthright citizenship. And that's been, I did a show about that too, how that's been kind of a push. You don't get to have birthright citizenship no more. We finished. So you see this, and you see that like the people in the Bahamas didn't say that, well, all Haitians are our family. We all black the same. Because nobody does that. That's just ignorant. And it's not just that. You see, when you see South Africans chasing Nigerians, do you say, nobody says, well, they all black the same? No, I'm South African, they're Nigerian. There are differences. And African countries have gone to war, and nobody has said, well, we all the same. Nobody, listen, we get to be a doormat for people who are entering, and we don't even see that, like, we are ADOS. We're American. It don't matter how you feel about America. It don't matter if your government done stuff wrong. We all know that. They did it wrong to us first. You think we don't know? This is still our home. Our bones are buried here. Our ancestors' bones are buried here. Most of us are not going, the overwhelming majority of us are not going to relocate and go anywhere. Now, we can fight all day to change this country, and we should. That is our right. But please do not render yourself a perpetual outsider because of this idea of a uniformed and unified blackness. Africa ain't even united. The Caribbean ain't even united. You want us to unite with y'all? Y'all ain't even united among yourselves. And y'all want us over here, a minority in America, to unite with you? How? No. That's a con. And we see that everywhere. Dominican Republic deports illegal Haitians. Haitians been having a hard time. Haitian immigrants. Remembering the Eritrea-Ethiopia border war. They fighting. They just been fighting. Nobody said, don't fight. We all black. We got to be here for... No, these are different countries. And even within countries, there are intra-country differences in terms of tribes and everything else. Ethiopia to prosecute Somali region president for plotting civil war. All kinds of madness they got going on. But when we come here, we're supposed to just be flat black. We all black the same. Flat black, flat black. We all black the same. And if you say anything about differences, now y'all can have Dominican Day, or y'all can form black immigrant groups. Y'all can have Nigerian Day. Y'all can do all that stuff, and it's not considered divisive. I'm supposed to lay hands off in my country. In my country. In my country. I'm supposed to say, well, that ain't a problem. Y'all can do all of that. Y'all can do all that in my country. But if I say I'm American, I'm an ADOS. Oh, you're being divisive. You don't get to tell me what to do in my country. You don't get it. You disrespectful. I would never go to your country and tell you what to do, how to behave. No, you got to fit in with me. You better start getting in line. You better start behaving as an ally and do what you got to do. You don't get to tell me what to do and tell me how to feel and how to move. In my country, I had somebody say to me in a comment, well, the only real Americans are white Americans. Happy you said it. That's how you really feel. Understand there's no ally who would tell you that. Come here to access whiteness through us to then tell me that I'm not American. The only real Americans are white Americans. Nobody comes here. Listen, I've said this before. Before I go to break, let me say this one more time. Nobody comes to America for the most part. We got some allies. I found out most of the stuff I found out about immigrants from everywhere from allies. But you have a lot of super capitalist pawns of white supremacy who do not come here to be a part of a losing team. And in America, we're the losing team. And we have to understand that, understand what that means for us, and understand how we have to move to get redress for what has happened specifically to us. This hasn't slavery and all this other stuff didn't happen to all black people. It happened to us. And nobody should be able to make you feel bad about advocating for what you do. And people got to stop fence sitting. People got to stop, you got a point and you got a point. And I just go, no, nobody dealing with that. No, I'm not dealing with that. If you on my team, wear my jersey. If you're not wearing my jersey, you're not on my team, and I'm not fence sitting with you, you're on the other team. And you just as much as enemy as anybody else. Because you don't have values. You don't have a set of principles or morals or nothing like that. And so you're a problem too. So as we go to break, I just want to put that out there. Give me 3 or 4 minutes, fam, as usual, to set the phones, and I will be back. What's going on, fam? We are back. 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 Woo. Y'all know who it is. I'm going to my first call. I'm going to 310. What's going on?
What up, y'all? This is Tone Talk. So just want to get in here and hit three things real quick. First thing I want to say is shout out to everybody again for as we launched the ADOS 101 website, the support. Shout out to our moderators, Reggie, Marguerite, Kim, all of y'all. This is my thing. I want to come to this and say that, I'm getting like emails and tags from you guys about individual people that are saying stuff about ADOS. I don't really care. So y'all can. Y'all don't have to tag me. Because the thing that I'll tell you is, like, the video that I did on ADOS Explain, it gives you a metric to understand you're basically talking to somebody who's very ignorant. Because that ADOS video is at 51,000 views. There's 4,200 likes. There's 100 dislikes. So those 100 people have y'all running around and talking like y'all talking to a lot of people, or people that have a lot of people watching them. It's just 100 loud people. That ratio is insane, like 4,200 likes to 100 dislikes. And think about what I was saying in the ADOS Explain video. It's very, racy, controversial, ADOS-centered concept. Everybody agrees, though. So stop talking to the wall and then telling me about it, because I don't really care. I'm not going to talk to a wall, and I don't want you butting your head against the wall, getting so frustrated. But it's like they don't know what they're talking about. Now, let's move on. One thing I want to say about the George Washington thing is we got to understand that Martha Washington inherited those slaves from her husband that she had before George. Then what happens is George gets a certain amount of slaves from Martha. When George dies, he wills that his slaves will be released upon Martha's death. In fear of her own life, she releases all the slaves that were under his name. The problem is that Owner Judge was owned by Martha. So what we have in the Owner Judge situation, actually, ironically, is that it wasn't male patriarchy per se. It was just white power that actually enslaved her. And I think that's what Yvette is cutting to. This is. I don't think that everybody understands like what we're talking about with ADOS. I think you guys are getting it, but you really don't understand. Like, read the last point on the agenda. Read the last points. You don't understand reparation. Just step back and say that to yourself. I don't understand how much it's supposed to be. Darity is saying that it should be in the trillions of dollars, which is hundreds of thousands of dollars per recipient. And it's not your job to say they could never do that. Look, Elizabeth Warren came on TV today talking about everybody should get child care. Why? I'm not talking about whether I feel that it's okay or not. Why should you get that before you give me my reparations? Because it sounds like you're just going to spend my reparations on everybody's child care. Let's talk about it. She said her mama came, her auntie came, and like the next week when she needed help, and the auntie just was there. That's because she was free to do that, because she was white. Let's talk about it. So now they trying to take all of the stuff that's supposed to go to your pocketbook, spread it out, and you going to help them carry the bag. I'm just telling y'all, let's go right to this. Let's go right to the meat and potatoes of this. Stop telling me about African. Like people playing Black Panther like it's the same as Fred Hampton. Look, the Fred Hampton movie don't need Kaluuya. The Fred Hampton movie don't need Kaluuya.
No movie needs him.
But
no movie needs him. No movie needs him.
But no, I'm talking about not just the talent wise. I'm talking about literally when you look at a Vero and Kaluuya, these are unknown talents. They bring no dollars to the actual budget. They don't lead to actual production. When you talk about like Denzel Washington or Will Smith in that Nigerian movie, Will Smith brought the budget for the movie with him. Not only was it American, but it can't be made without that American talent. I don't think everybody's being honest that these movies are being used to create people that aren't on the scene at all, or very nominally on the scene. And I think that nobody wants to get honest about that because they need this to work. But the bigger point is also, stop telling me about all of Africa. See, somehow y'all trying to make Africa a country like we stupid. Stop telling me Africa. Look, we talking about American movies. Then all of a sudden you say Africa. But you Igbo. Tell me when we play an Igbo. That's what you get to tell me. When we play an Igbo, I want you to jump out and say, you play the Igbo. But make sure the Igbo is in Nigeria. You can't be in Milwaukee. And so, like, what's happening now is that they're trying to play a game on black people. And part of the reason is that most black people, forget most, I think somewhere around 85% of blacks won't even get to leave and visit Africa. Something low will ever go to Africa. Let alone how many blacks will even leave the country. What the game is to make Africa a conceptual country in the way that America is a country. But it's actually 54 very, very divided countries. I mean, when I say divided, it's not even like Canada, U.S., Mexico, where there's a NAFTA. I'm talking about literally, we don't want you to come in here. Your passport don't work to come here. It's not a place. So why are you trying to make it a place for this argument? And then also, then you're going to throw in fake countries like Wakanda and Zamunda? That's because your argument doesn't make any sense. Look, the reality is that the only reason that these people are getting cast is because we haven't shined a spot on them. But it's about to be hot in this heat because we're not playing no more. And these people should not be playing Harriet Tubman. And I believe that the first questions that should be asked is, did your family sell slaves? I don't understand how that's not a criteria to find out if you should play Harriet Tubman. Like, how did we get here? How did we get here when we don't know if the man that played Martin Luther King's family wasn't a slave trading family? When we know he came from a line of I believe tribe leaders and kings in a slave trading tribe. What? I'm just saying to you, the last point I'm going to make to you is, you missed it, Yvette. Roland talking again.
He talking again.
Roland talking.
Roland talking?
Rolly is talking. So Roland Martin had a young man on. I don't know what the man had on his head. Looked like he had a little weird Lexus hat and he had a red tie. I don't know about that. But he had to deal with what his
What? Wait a minute. What he had on? Make sure after you get off the call, please send me a screenshot. Thank you.
But the young man made a point. Let me get the young man made a point that made sense. He said Kamala is not ADOS, not foundational black, whatever you want to call it.
True.
She doesn't descend from American slavery. In response to that, not only did Roland cut him off, like we saw with Umar, but Roland started to go into a sleight of hand to talk about Shirley Chisholm, Malcolm X, whose father again is ADOS. He started talking about Sidney Ford. Understand this: the man talked about slavery, and Roland brought up civil rights. Understand that Roland is part Haitian, so he's been building this weird mix of a personality for a long time. But he brought up that Kamala Harris, who avoided the Matrice Richardson case, the murder that Yvette covered, who put black mothers behind bars for truancy, is not ADOS. And Roland brought up these super big figures individually to make his argument make sense that we're black. I believe that Roland Martin is a damaging problem for black media. I believe that he doesn't understand how to interview. I believe that he's disrespectful, elitist. I believe that he doesn't know enough to be in this space. I believe that you guys believe that he has some power that he doesn't, because his videos be having 400 views. I think that he has to really understand that you keep on messing up. ADOS gonna come for you. Go ahead.
Tone, he told me he said on YouTube he get 10 million views a month. We just don't know how to count it.
All I want to know is about your YouTube views. I look at the channel, I look at the videos. You got 17 videos tonight, and each one got 30,000. I mean, got about 300 views. Your lives, Yvette, you be having like you had 3,000 on live on the last show. He had 62 people live, and me and you was two of them, and we went in and out. I'm just saying. So, long story short, when I say ADOS is coming for you, this isn't about violence. This is saying on a political level, on a level of speaking and advocating for ourselves, on a level where you can't just stand up to this young man and just berate him because he don't have no response. That was craziness. You basically saying that ADOS and the trillions of dollars that we're owed doesn't exist. You gonna say, I didn't say that. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You're saying that blackness is black. I'm just saying, I just wanted to bring all that to y'all. That's all that happened. But we coming. All right, y'all.
Appreciate it, Tone, as always. Appreciate it. I appreciate it. You know what? Let me just say what else Roland is saying. Roland is also saying, I need a job or I need some kind of investment. But the other thing Roland is saying too is that we're not a group. So you have Roland on one hand, just on his Twitter, like Roland do at least 1,000 tweets a day, I'm convinced. But I don't know how you be a thinking person and do that many tweets. You must be a crazy person. But he'll say, on one hand, he'll be like, I read all the civil rights book and all this other Fred Hampton, the civil rights movement. On the other hand, when you come against somebody that says, well, Kamala's not one of us, and you defend her, what you're really doing is undermining everything that you just said. You're basically saying that we're not a group. Hold on. You're saying that ADOS is not a group. If you say that Kamala is the same as us, we're not even debating her whether or not she's a good candidate right now. When you say that she's not, when we say that we're not one, she's not one of us, and you say, well, yes, she is. Yes, she is. We don't know what's Chisholm. What you are saying is that we are not a specific group, and we don't get to define our boundaries. Listen, fam, if you don't understand, learn one thing from me. Understand that I don't care whether you're in a romantic relationship or a friendship or whatever. If you're around somebody that doesn't allow you to define your own boundaries, get rid of that person. You have a right to define your own boundaries. Roland is undermining his own. He's undermining what he said. Like he'll undermine something he said 10 minutes ago. So 10 minutes ago, you talk about how wonderful Black Americans are and how we fought. And then the next moment you say Kamala's one of us. You just undermine what you just said. You're just not smart enough to know it. Not my fault. 770, I'm coming to you. 770, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, this is Devontae from Atlanta, Georgia.
What's going on? How you been?
I've been all right. You know, everything looking up for me. You know, I finally got me a job.
Good. Congratulations.
Come out of jail, so that's right. I'm just happy. You know, I'm proud. You know, life's getting better. So,
good.
You know, I'm just doing good. How you been?
I've been pretty good. I can't complain about nothing.
Well, amen. That's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah, okay, but look, let me get into it. I wanted to call and just talk about this whole diversity or justice pitch. And I just feel like we as Black people, what we really have is we don't really choose diversity, we choose decadence. For instance, we'll choose every other culture, every other race, even white people, just because they have like this level of wealth that we just don't have. And as Black people, we're just so tired of being associated with poverty and all the things that come with being Black. So I say all that to say is, oh shit, I forgot what I was going to say. No, I don't. Yeah, I just say all that to say is, cause like when I was in jail, this is one thing I want to talk about, is how all the Black people who I was rolling with, they was always talking about the Mexicans, you know, we got to be with the Mexicans, you know, because Mexicans, we all brown people, we got to make sure we mess with the Mexicans. But then I really realized that the Mexicans ain't really trying to fuck with us. I mean, I'm sorry, my bad. They ain't really trying to mess with us. They really trying to hang out with the white people. That's what it was. You know, they would spend their money on the white people. They would play cards with the white people. They were just always trying to be up under the white people. So I just always said, that's the lowest of the low. You know, we're in jail, so we're at the lowest. You know, we're probably at the bottom. You know, everybody think, you know, people go to jail at the bottom quintile anyway. So I'm like, this is the bottom people trying to be with the white people. I can only imagine what the top elite try to be with. They're trying to rock with us.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Huh?
I said that's a good point. I said that's a good point. Who do you think the elite in our community are trying to be with and run behind? That's a good point.
Yeah. And I said even your graph showed it when you put up the graph with the wealth percentage. The Hispanic part was higher than the Black people. So I'm just like, you know, that really just shows us who they're trying to be with. But also, I just want to talk on the. I love that you always talk about the actors and the actors from England or Britain, how they come here and then they want to take all the American roles. I'm an actor too. I actually have an audition in the morning for a film, so wish me luck on that.
Good luck.
Thank you. But I wanted to talk about how even in the acting community, when it came to like Monique, I really thought for sure that my Black women that act with me would be on the side of Monique. But they were like, no, we really ain't messing with Monique. You know, she did it the wrong way. You know, that's just not how I would have did it. And I'm
let me just say one thing on the Monique thing, fam, before I go on. Like, everybody thinks they know, but they don't know. Like, most of the women that you say I would have done it differently never got put on. Like, I don't, like, you never got put on. Like, you don't know what you would have done differently because you weren't in the industry. There's no, like, here's the thing, there's no done differently. Like, these people just give you something and be like, you can take it, you can take it, you can leave it. We don't care. We don't really need you. It's a bunch of Negroes and Negresses who will take what you turn down. We don't care. Oh, I want an Oscar. I don't care. Like that's how they move. And I think because we don't really understand wealth or white wealth, we don't really understand how it moves or how we're a bottom caste. And when you're a bottom caste, anybody, I can just go get a different bottom caste person. I don't have to have you. You gonna take this or no? What you gonna do right now? What you gonna do? Just tell me what you gonna do. We can move on. We don't need you. We got 10 duplicates waiting right now. And people always, well, what I would have done, you don't know. You wouldn't have done nothing but take the deal and dance around the stage and do a little jigaboo pickaninny dance. That's what you would have done. That's a different thing. You gotta be willing to take risks and chances if you want to stand up for your community. But go on, fam. I'm sorry. I'm gonna let you finish up.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. But I did also say I didn't think that was crazy how no one wanted to be on Monique's side. But then like Regina King could get up during the Grammys or the Oscar, whatever it was that just passed, and she'll get up on stage and say that, oh well, for all my next projects in the future, I'm going to make sure I hire 50% women. But she's not even specifying. She's saying, is it going to be 50% black women or what percentage that's going to be black women? Then all my black actresses, they want to get on their Instagram page. Well, yeah, doing something for women. I'm just like, but whose side are you on?
You Martha Washington. They on Martha Washington side, child. Ain't nobody need to be doing nothing but just women. They on Martha Washington side.
That's right. So I just say, just for all my family out here, all the people who gonna listen to this video in the future, you gotta pick your side. You gotta stay true to your side. We ain't fighting for every crayon in the Crayola box. We fighting specifically for American descendants of slaves, and you gotta hop on the ship, or you can just get kicked off with it, because we ain't doing this whole wishy-washy stuff no more. I'm fighting for my people and my people only. So
appreciate it, fam.
That's all I gotta say.
That's what's up. I appreciate you, fam. That's what it is. That's what life is. And let me just say, nothing I appreciate about that, brother. I appreciate you being honest about, like, you just got out of jail or whatever. We got too many lying Negroes who want to call in, well, I have a business. Just tell us the truth. Part of the problem that happens in our community is that like everybody run around lying. So that's part of the problem. We don't understand the data. If you got evicted, say I got evicted. If you was just in jail, say I was just in jail. I got locked up for XYZ. That way we can get a sense of like what's happening in our community. If so many of us weren't such big liars, we want just say my house being foreclosed on. I don't have money for food or whatever, and we can help and understand. But you just run around. Well, I'm doing good. What, you gonna finish that? No, I got a business. You have a business card. That's not a business. So I think one of the things that has to happen too, we have to start as a group getting honest about our predicaments. The reason people believe all Negroes are business owners is because all of us run around talking about, yeah, check out my card. I remember, I'm not going to even get into it. Anyway, I'm going to the next call. I'm going to 678. 678, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, this is Jacob checking in from Detroit.
What's going on, Jacob? What's
going on? Good evening to everybody. Good evening to Breaking Brown fam. A couple things I just want to touch on. First of all, that when you read Thurgood Marshall information, and to read those statistics, that information from back then and how it parallels to today, it's kind of it's just mind-numbing. To hear that direct correlation, the same thing that they were talking about then, the same thing we're dealing with now, we just need to stop and think about that for a second.
Yeah.
No progress.
None.
Like, that's essentially what you read today. No progress in all of those years. That's just, it's head-scratching. The second thing I want to talk about here in Detroit, you touched on a lot of things that folks are dealing with and that we're dealing with here in Detroit. Redlining. We have the highest auto insurance rates in the country.
Oh.
I mean, in the country here in Detroit. This is supposed to be the home of the automobile, the middle class, highest rates in the country. A recent report came out talking about there was lead in the water at school. We have some of the worst performing schools here in the country. My mentee goes to a school, they barely just got Wi-Fi. We're just being set up to fail. The recent recession. So the middle class started here in Detroit. You always hear that story. Well, they started building cars here. The middle class was built here. You had a lot of African Americans that started to build themselves up. Well, the recession came through and wiped essentially all of that away. They talked about the lost decade here. Just all that progress wiped away during the recession. I have personal friends that lost a family home. So any wealth, a little bit they had or they might have accumulated, wiped away. Eviscerated.
Just
gone.
Yeah.
Just gone. But more importantly, I want to talk about one thing. A lot of things, I've been listening to you guys for about 2 years now.
Okay.
And a lot of things you say parallel a lot of information that comes here out of Detroit. Recently, a report that just came out today is with a group called Detroit Future Cities. And they were talking about how to rebuild Detroit. Detroit's enjoying this kind of renaissance, but it's not impacting everybody. Mm-hmm. And this lady is with Detroit Future Cities. She's an African-American woman. She said the answer is, I'm going to read right from her report. The future of Detroit will be built if we boost the African-American middle class. And she says, and not by moving some rich African-Americans here, but by boosting the income and the stability of the ones that are already here. Mm-hmm. The same thing that you guys have been saying. You can't just replace us. You need to focus on the ones that are here, give them the skills, the job training, the economic opportunities. Yeah. And that's how you rebuild the city. She came to the same conclusion that you've been talking about, the same one Verity's been talking about. Like, there are people doing the same informational work that you guys are doing, coming to the very same conclusion. That tells me something. If I'm listening to multiple voices and everybody's coming to the same conclusion, like, wait a minute, now these are very smart people, educated, they got data and support, and they're coming to the exact same conclusion, that should tell us something. We should stop and listen and not try to gloss over them.
You're right.
I just wanted to offer that to everyone out there. Great show tonight. I got to actually go back. I'm going to watch this one again. That piece from Thurgood Marshall.
This one it was a little bit tedious. This one was kind of a little bit tedious for I think maybe y'all can let me know I hate to be kind of tedious and go through highlights, right? But like one of the things that I like to do is to like sometimes you have to do that. I thought somebody said something in the chat that I thought was wrong. But like sometimes you have to do that. You have to go through the comments and through the highlights to actually make that happen. So I appreciate that, fam. But yeah, this is I just felt it was necessary to go back to Thurgood because we're talking about our people, we're talking about our ancestors and all that stuff. So I appreciate you calling in, fam. I don't know what I just saw in the chat. I don't know. But like, understand, fam, we're not a xenophobic group of people. We're people who stake our claim. That's not the same thing. Please don't let people jump in here and try to make us into something that we're not. Okay? We got some really good allies, but like everybody's not an ally for sure. But like, let's understand that we have to be able to differentiate. We ain't Trump. I'm going to the next caller. I am going to 314. 314, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, this is Michael.
What's going on, Michael?
From St. Louis.
What's going on?
Hey, what's up? So I'm glad that you did this show on Thurgood Marshall, and we do have to pick a side. I think for far too long we have been asked to view politics through the eyes of whites and through immigrants, but we have not viewed them through our lens as ADOS. And I think the lesson that you taught tonight is that we need to look at it that way. And I agree, because I found an article on white male victimization, and they feel they're losing ground, and they feel that they're not getting what they need. So what makes people think that if we just do a common ground approach, we're going to get what we need from DACA and from all of these other policies that are being pushed? We need to be steadfast on what's good for our group, because like you always point out, we're a bottom caste. People don't take us serious or see us as valuable, so we have to really put stock in our own people and invest in ourselves politically, and say, if you want immigration, immigrants have to pay into a reparations fund for ADOS. We need to be trained and get preferential treatment for jobs. If they're going to come here and try to displace us, we need to tax them in some way. That would happen to us if we went to Ghana, or if we went to Jamaica, or if we went somewhere else as ADOS and as having dual citizenship. We wouldn't get the same access that an actual citizen would get. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, because that just shows it like it's a farce. Like, that just shows, like, if they really, like, wait a minute, you get to come here, and when we come here, we're all black the same, but if I come there, I don't get the benefits. You don't make me a citizen. I don't get no land. You don't make me a preferred immigrant. Like, it just goes to show you that this is a one-way street. It doesn't go both ways.
Yeah, and I'm gonna wrap this up. But in the articles I read that white men in general and white people feel anti-white bias, reverse racism is more prevalent than anti-black bias. So what should that tell our people who are saying we should look out for our own interests? And a top group is saying they feel more oppressed and more discriminated against than the group that has always been the bottom caste. So I just want our people, ADOS, to think about that. These other communities are saying that they're more oppressed than you, and when you bring up your argument for what you are justly owed, they're going to say that they should be entitled to that. So you should say, hey, if you want to get this, this is what we need out of this deal. We need to take our piece of the pie every time we come to the table, because Hispanics, Asians, all of those other people, while they're minorities, they have their own interests at heart, and they prioritize their people first. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. I think, I think one of the things that has to happen, I was watching, I'm trying to find this. I got to find this after I get off. But I'm trying to find this somebody made a little slick comment about something. Somebody made a little slick, we are not a xenophobic group, and somebody made what I think is a xenophobic comment. And it bothered me. Anyway, one of the things that I would say, there was a very good, there was a Tucker Carlson interview, and he was talking to this Indian man about racism. I don't know why you doing that, whatever. But the man was talking, and he said, and then he was talking about systemic racism and all that stuff. And Tucker Carlson brought up, well, Nigerians do better than native blacks, as a way to prove racism doesn't exist. These Nigerians do better than the native whites. He didn't say native black. They do better than white people. So, and I think, I tweeted that because it shows how what you have is some black immigrants being used, in that case Nigerians, being used to say that racism doesn't exist, right? Because these black people do better than white people, the native white Americans. So see, it's a meritocracy. And that's what we've always said on this show about the black immigrants who are able to who mask our failure. Nobody wants to so you come here and you do better. Nobody talks about how the fact that y'all do better than everybody, not just y'all do better than American DOS, y'all do better than white people, but you mask our failure. So everybody says, see, racism don't exist, these people are doing well. And that is a problem in terms of what we're trying to do and how we're trying to move. So I'm going to my next call now. I am going to 815, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, this is Tech out of Illinois.
Hey, what's going on?
I just want to complete two thoughts that you and Tone brought up. Tone talked about Martha Washington receiving a slave from her husband. The part he left out, which is very key to me, is that within her will, she said that her slave would be freed upon her death.
Yeah.
She turned around and freed them before she died. And we have to ask ourselves, well, why did she do that? Well, she knew if you have these people that are in bondage and they know they're going to be free, when you die, they're going to kill your ass. Because then they know they're going to get free.
She was scared.
Important. That's very important to prove that she knew that it was wrong. They knew it was wrong. In fact, slavery was not defined just as an institution. During the making of the Constitution, it was defined as an ideal institution. And then when you spoke about the Backey case, let's talk about that was a white man. The first affirmative action case was won by a white man.
Oh.
So when we talk about reverse discrimination, when we talk about these types of things, every time we get a game, they flip it, and it's really their game. So speaking back to Tone's point, when he said, don't come talking to me about this small minority that don't really understand ADOS, I really want to put that in perspective, because my ultimate point is that this is the best time. You wouldn't have all of these people from the Democratic Party in their front line, Kamala, Booker, you got, what's the girl, Angela Rye, all of them.
Oh, yeah.
They wouldn't be coming after ADOS if it wasn't a real organic movement.
Yeah.
They would ignore it.
And it's a coordinated coming for us. They're coming for us in a very coordinated way, and they're all saying the same thing.
In a very coordinated way.
Yeah.
There is. So people, y'all, we have to understand if we believe in this and don't quite understand it holistically, but if something about it feels right, understand we wouldn't even get this traction if someone write about it. A tide is turning. But to Tone's point, I do want to back up what he's saying about it. If you don't understand this whole idea of reparations just yet, it just feels good to say ADOS. Ask yourself, well, what is the repair? What is the repair? Yvette, give you a minute to just run down the timeline.
Yeah.
1776, Constitution, founding of the United States of America. We weren't even considered human beings. Okay, I would argue that the only reason we even had it is because of the Industrial Revolution. But it was a change in how society satisfied its needs. They didn't need us on plantations no more. It was industry was about to happen. No one needed to be in an agrarian society. So it was the moves that would benefit how the society was about to change. Slavery ends in 1865. Not 100 years out. Then you get these 3 civil rights amendments that don't mean shit. You just read about it with Justice Marshall talking about we didn't get anything. It was all symbolism. It really didn't help us. 15 years after 1865, we go through the Freedmen's Bureau and that period of time where the biggest wealth transfer to white people occurred, Homestead Act. That cut us out.
Yeah.
Within that time frame, you get black folks really trying to pull themselves up, really, and you get Tulsa. Soon as we come up, they bomb our games. You know, and many other cities that were like Tulsa. You get the Harlem Renaissance start, and then it's all this colorism come about. But 70 more years, we experience Jim Crow segregation. Okay? And then we get the civil rights movement within this, and we get no gains. 5 years after that, they created the drug law and task force before drugs was even the issue. Who did it target? It targeted black American descendant of slaves, where you had discrepancies in powder cocaine and crack cocaine. Can't even get crack without powder. So we had 100 times more sentencing than the actual raw material used to even create the drug. Okay, meth comes along 20 years after that, and it affects white women in suburban areas. And you don't use the government's response was treatment facilities. And you had statistics that said it was more ravaging to communities than crack ever would be. So when we say what is this repair that we're looking for that only affects American descendants of slaves, I just gave you a timeline. From the origin of this country to today, that don't make sense, that marginalize us. So even if you don't understand it holistically, understand we are at a point right now that if we don't speak up for ourselves, what's the alternative? A party system that ain't did nothing. The caller right before me just said there's still no progress. Y'all, who we're looking for is us. Stay true to the movement, Yvette Tong. Bless you.
But let me say this, caller. You know, you mentioned like Shapiro, the author of Black Wealth, White Wealth, said that a fourth of white homes, a fourth of white homes by some estimates in terms of like wealth and all that stuff can be traced back to the Homestead Act. So like what they have can be traced back to that.
Hold on, listen. There's a book by we talk about our lives. But I will tell you, and I know we're going to do a book club, but when I talk this, I use the author called Joseph R. Fielding. He is the author of the theory of racism called systemic. Now, you spoke to that word, and what people need to understand is systemic does not mean a byproduct of a bad system. It means it is the very essence of the system. So if we say systemic racism, we mean that racism is within the legal system. It's within the educational system. It's within the social system. It's within every level of that society. And he said that to this day, you can count over 20 million white Americans that still are living off of that. So he said, we just sit here and talk about people that are disadvantaged. You can't even have a conversation about disadvantage. If someone is disadvantaged, that means someone was over advantaged. If someone is privileged, that means someone has not been privileged. It's not there.
What did Toni Morrison say? If for you to stand up, somebody has to be on their knees, you got a problem?
Yes. And one last thing about allies, and you got me going now.
Okay.
I love, why all the black, Beverly Taylor, why all the black children sitting together in the cafeteria. She wrote that book. So when she defined what an ally truly means, for those of us who do not know, she said, imagine a treadmill just moving. You don't have to do anything. It's inertia. You stand on it and it's moving. So we recognize the system is tainted. It's racist. It's going to always move in the same direction it was created. To be an ally, you have to walk 20 times faster in the opposite direction.
Oh, no, say that again.
If you ain't
No, say that again.
Get the hell out my way.
No, you got to say that again. To be an ally, you got to walk what?
If you are on a conveyor belt, imagine a machine. If you're on a conveyor belt, and I'm making Campbell soup, something is going to go into this cup, it's going to sit down on this conveyor belt, and it's going to go to its ultimate end to be packed. There's a defined destination. Well, that's what systemic racism is. It does not work without a permanent underclass. You speak that so eloquently. So if you are an ally with me, that means you recognize that this is a doomed system. You recognize that ADOS is a habitual eater of failure. So if you're going to help me while we're on this conveyor belt, turn in the opposite direction, run 20 times faster against it so it don't get to that destination.
So you telling me?
Your ass down.
So you telling me I just can't tell you I feel your pain and keep walking the other way?
You better believe it. I ain't trying to hear that. That's what everything else has told me. That's why I love this language you provided me. You and told ADOS. I always got to the end of my course and saying, I know the end game is right after disappear. It don't mean shit. I know the end game. What is it? I was missing that component. American descendant of slaves. I love it.
Thank you.
I believe in it. I get it. It's simple to me. We need everybody to get on board.
Yes, ma'am.
This is real. Thanks, Yvette.
No, thank you, fam. You was on fire. This guy, you on fire. Like, no, but she's right. Like, no, you don't get to just be like, you don't get to walk past me going the other way. I'm going this way, trying to run against the conveyor. Oh, and you go, I'm so sorry. These people is wrong for what they did to you. And you started just going the other way, just stroking. Going to my opportunity, that's where you're going. And you going, no, ally runs with me. Like, when people talk about, well, what about Shirley Chisholm and Harry Belafonte? They was running with us. Like, we're going to fight this thing together. We all in this together. You understand? I'm with you. No, y'all going that way talking about it's real awful as you glide on the treadmill. That was a very good example. I did appreciate it. I'm going now. Let me see. Hold on a second. I really did appreciate that. I really, 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 really did. I swear at some point, fam, we just going to have to do like a long show because I just can't never get everybody on the show. 206, I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Dr. Carnell, it's your man Mark Black from Seattle.
What's going on with you, though?
Damn, huh?
I said, what's going on with you?
Sister, look, in the interest of honesty, I'm unemployed, but you know what I do? I get on my YouTube channel and I talk about ADOS issues for my people until such time as I'm able to get my come up, so I ain't stressed.
I understand.
But, yeah. Huh?
I said, I understand. Go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm not going to keep it too long because, believe it or not, the callers before me stole a lot of my thunder. I just want to leave the family with a message, right? That there's really only 3 parties to this deal. And I would argue only 2, but I'll give the third one a pass. It's us, the ADOS family, Americans that we have to talk to conduct this business, and our allies. All the rest of them don't have nothing to say on this. All they deserve is smoke or shade. If they can't get on board, I ain't got no time, no voice, no comments for them. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, this is us finally finishing up some unfinished business in this country. We got 2053 that we face and with zero wealth. We don't have time for a bunch of hemming and hawing, a bunch of remedial stuff. We have to get this work done. We have to unite up together as ADOS, and we need to deal with America finally and be done with it. Get this business completed and move on.
All right. Thank you, Carl. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I agree with the caller. I think we absolutely have to deal with what has to be dealt. And I don't think we got another chance, even with what the treadmill caller was saying. So she's saying you got to run against the treadmill. You got to go the other direction. You can't be running with the treadmill. And like, I got a question. Which direction is Kamala Harris running? Is she running with us or is she running that way? That's just my question. Like, which way is she going? Is she running against the grain? Or she just get some stuff, get some pink ice and green ice and run that way? That's the question. That's the question that needs to be answered. So I'm going to another call. I'm going to 732. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. What's going on?
I am from New Jersey.
Okay.
This is Karen.
Okay.
I am glad to be on your show. I'm always trying to get on, can never get through. I just want to say, I want to brag and say that I never believed in Barack Obama, did not vote for him ever. I knew that he was just a white liberal in blackface. But I'm calling you really just to ask some questions. Really, just to give you a bit of my background, I am proudly African American, and I am from my family. My dad is from Trinidad.
Okay.
So I see both sides of this. Let me say it this way: I am politically African American all the way.
Okay.
What I see with this is what people don't understand is my family comes from Trinidad, right? My dad's side. Trinidad had slavery ended in 1833. That is 200 years of freedom. That's a totally different mindset. That is not having Jim Crow. That's not having anybody try to lynch you. That is being in a country where you're not black. You are just a person. That is a totally different mindset. My grandmother always talks to me about the fact that when she came here, she was like, wow, what's the deal with these black people? This is America opportunity. She said, but once you live here and you get to see the sort of the witchcraft that they do, your whole understanding about what it is to be black is totally different, right? So, when I look at all of this and I'm trying to figure out, well, with what you're doing with the whole reparations piece, like, when the reparations come to fruition, and I see this as a reality, what does that how is that going to be implemented? Do you see like organizations doing that? Do you see direct payments to individuals?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Do you see the what? I'm sorry, do I see the what? What'd you say?
Once reparations is a reality, how is that going to be given out to the people? Is it through organizations?
No, I mean,
direct payment.
Here's the thing. I've talked about before how reparations has to be a multi-pronged policy, and it has to be multi-generational. Okay. You can't just give checks out. Like, no, this is 400 years. One of the things that I've always said is that a wound takes longer to heal than it takes to cut. Right? That's something that I've always said. So, like this has to be a multi-generational reparations plan. I don't care whether you put in a trust fund. You also have to make us have credits available to go to college because the wealth we don't have. There's a lot. We need lineage therapy. But see, the thing is, the first thing that we have to understand is that we don't know enough. It's kind of like what Antonio said. We have to let other people, like Darity and other people, decide like what that number looks like, and then we can decide how it's instituted. But one of the things that I'm not going to do is like when this country approves reparations, like then I will get in there and talk about how I think this should look. But if you haven't approved it, one of the things that I see happening is people trying to say, well, what it's going to be so that they can hamstring it. No. I'm not doing that at all. I can talk to you about that and put in place what I think it should be after you pass some legislation forward. After this country shows me that it has a will to institute reparations, then I will get on the board and tell you what I think it should be. I've expressed some very firm ideas on this show, and I have some very firm ideas about what I think reparations should look like. But I'm not going to do that until this country has shown me a will for it, because I know this country will use that to be like, well, that ain't gonna work. No, that just means you don't give a damn.
Okay. So how do we, I'm just afraid it'll be another situation like when they had the Freedmen's Bureau and somebody ran off with the money.
Well, I know, like, we're not talking about just a check. Like, understanding what happened to us requires way more than a check. Like, it requires so much more than, like, money. It requires credits. It requires, like, opportunity in terms of affirmative action that keeps that door open. Like, I don't think people understand how complex any kind of reparations distribution would be.
Yeah.
There's no way to do this in terms of just giving us money.
Yeah, it definitely has to be. Yeah, definitely has to be well thought out. My second question, thank you for that. My second question is, do you think with Kamala Harris and Cory Booker being in a real vulnerable position in terms of ADOS and a lot of the pushback that they're getting, do you think that is possible to use as leverage, or do we just come against their nominations altogether?
Well, no, I think we push them to have an agenda. Like a specific, like you go to ADOS101.com, that's our agenda. ADOS101.com, that's our agenda. You have to push them to have that agenda. Like, that's what you do. Now, this is about an agenda. Do you have this agenda or not? If you're not, adhering to the specifics that we have here, then I can't help you. You don't have my agenda. I think that's what we have to do. And I want to thank you, caller, for calling. I'm gonna try to get in another caller before we head out. But yeah, that's what it has to look like. I don't, a lot of people say a lot of different things, but that's one of the ways it has to look. I'm going to 718. 718, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yeah, good afternoon, Yvette. How you doing?
Pretty good.
I'm calling from Jamaica, Queens.
What's going on?
Yeah, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Well, basically, first of all, let me say I totally agree with you as far as American descendants of slaves having a legal, moral, ethical, and spiritual right to recompense from this country and to be made whole. But my issue is, and I've had other conversation with this with other people, because I've been involved in the movement for a little while. I'm 49 years old, and basically, I don't concentrate on other people. I don't concentrate on the diaspora. I don't concentrate on Pan-Africanism. I concentrate on what my people deserve. My people, my mother's from the South, my father's from the North. They were born in this country. Their grandparents were born in this country. There's slavery in my family. There's a history of chattel slavery, of bondage slavery. There was free labor from slavery to redlining to all of the atrocities that was committed against my people in general, and specifically my family. This government owes me something.
Yeah.
And I don't care where you come from. I don't care who you are. I want mine. And I don't concentrate on you. There's a saying in the army, lead, follow, or get the hell out the way. I don't concentrate on you. My thing is what I want it clear. I want to understand it. I want a clear program, like you say, generational reaching, and I want that to be the focal point. I don't care about anybody else. I don't care about immigrants. I don't care. I don't concentrate on them. I don't care about whether you're from Ghana, whether you're from Somalia. I don't care about that. You got your own issues in that country. Go on ahead. I think when you concentrate on that to a certain extent, it divides the argument, and it gives the oppressor the opportunity to divide you. I don't care.
See, here's where we part ways. We're already divided. Like this whole idea of unity is just fiction. This a utopian idea that this day has passed because of what I mentioned in the last show. It's not the white supremacists are not dividing us. We're already divided. I'm American. You are whatever you are when you got here. And that is your culture. I don't have any problem with you celebrating who you are, your culture. Y'all go out and celebrate y'all days. Y'all say y'all Wakanda rising, and I don't say nothing. So the thing is we're already divided. There's nothing wrong with you saying that you are Eritrean or Ethiopian or whatever you are, South African. Just like there's nothing wrong with me saying I'm American. Here's the problem though. I'm in America right now. That's where I am. So when I'm in America, it's supposed to mean something different than you saying as a black Brit, you're in America. As a South African, you're in America. No. This is my country. See, if I go to South Africa, I'm deferential to you because I understand this is your country. The problem is you want to come in here and say I'm just the same. Pump your brakes. We're not the same. I'm not concentrating on anything. There are differentiations that have to be made because that's how citizenship works. If you want your citizenship to mean anything, and you have to, I don't care whether you are, the problem with other black immigrants, they look like us, so they can substitute for us. But I don't care whether you are Slovenian, Mexican, Peruvian, whatever. Listen, this is my country. You need to understand that when you walk in. This is not just white people country. My people built this country. You need to walk in and understand that. And you need to understand that, like, what you get to have access to as a black, even brown immigrant is because of what my ancestors did. We are not the same. I am a citizen, and I get the rewards and all the fruits of citizenship. So what has happened is we all just get thrown into this third world kind of melting pot. No, that's not where I come from. I'm not going to throw myself in with the Honduran who just got here. I'm American.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that from my aspect, I don't concentrate on that. I don't care about them. I mean, whether you're getting something, whether you're not, I don't care. You know, if I'm concerned about what is owed my people. I'm concerned about the debt that America owes me. America wouldn't be the power that it was if it wasn't for black people. In 500 years of forced enslaved free labor. And that's the truth. And we are owed a debt. And I don't care what anybody else comes in looking for. I don't acknowledge them. They don't matter. They don't count. I'm concerned with what I want. I'm concerned with what my people are owed. And I'm concerned with how we're going to structure this government, which has been against us from the jump to making that debt, as you say, making us whole.
Well,
that's my concern. I don't care where you come from.
Well,
you come from Africa, come from Ethiopia, come from Bolivia. You're not my concern. Okay. My concern is forcing this government to acknowledge its sins and to make me whole.
Well, thank you. I get you, caller, and I appreciate you calling in. I understand what you're saying. I appreciate you. I'm going to try to get another caller in, but I appreciate you. Yeah, like, we have to be our own priority. I definitely agree with that. We have to be our own priority, but we have to distinguish who we are in respect to everybody else. And I totally agree with that. I am going right now to 757. 757, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's going on?
Yvette.
Otis, what's up?
Here with the track. Coming with the trash cans, the Lysol, another 13, laboratories and all that. Let me tell you something. I said it before, and I'm getting to the point that I know somebody got to do it. When Tone said something about you don't have to chase the 100, I'm going to kindly put a spin on that.
Okay.
See, if the people that have the ability to go into them comment sections, put facts in there, and then get on about your damn business, just like I'm telling you about the janitor. If the janitor finds out that you just throwing paper on the floor and he can't be there when you're doing it, what the janitor has to do is find a way to be more effective. That's why he gets a little grabby so he don't have to bend over no more. He just reach out and clip it and put it on in the basket. You can't stop people from running around crapping all over the place. So you don't chase them down and tell them they did it. They knew it before you did. Stop coming in here with the foolishness. Go into that place, put your comment in, and then guess what? They even got a report button in there.
Yeah.
Do what you need to do and move on.
And move on, though. Don't come and be like, well, Tone, they said this.
Look, I'm trying to be as functional as I can to help y'all out. The people are not understanding. If you come and add to the mess, you're creating dysfunction and they win.
Yeah.
If you're going to do anything to be an example of those people, I can see you screenshot it, make your point, leave it up for an hour or two, just take it down. Don't be trying to share it with a hot link, trying to mock somebody. We don't have time for mockery. And there's something else. I love when people call in, but I'm going to tell you this. There is no need to tell the teacher what they already told you. There's no need. This is not the part of the class where you get to raise your hand and let the students know what you can remember. If you're going to add to the conversation, that's good. If you're going to frame it so we know where you're coming from, that's good. But nobody needs to hear what they already told you for 3 years and now it's sinking in. Take what you've been told and go forward and make it effective in destroying these dumb clucks. As a matter of fact, I make a habit of the same ones that disparage Yvette them. I go on their programs and I talk to them.
Yeah.
When they get to the point that they see me in the queue and now they no longer let me go, I tell people, did you see so-and-so that's been trying to talk around her for 2 years, and now that I put the information out there, they don't want to let me talk? Stop doing them. Take their membership down and move on. Be effective warriors.
Say it one more time, Otis. Be effective warriors.
And look, I want to tell you something else, too. Be good listeners. See, we chased titles and words, and this one might come kind of hard. I practice what I preach. I told you. Even on your shows, I've been going back and listening. When I saw the pressure come up on this, and I kept on making a comment to you that they only shoot at the people at the top. This is exactly what I was talking about. I'm old and country. I don't try to be eloquent about nothing. I try to say it so anybody can kind of understand it. Like that little mint on the table, you know it's going to have a hint of peppermint, so anything you're going to expect to get no damn Hershey. It's a mint. So, when you see a headline or something, don't jump on and ask somebody, is it time to vote for these people? The election ain't until 2020. Now, I'm going to say something to you. Marianne Williamson, first when she came out, she said it was going to be reparations. People sending messages in my inbox asking me, oh, I'm for her. At least she talking about reparations. Hold on, Negro. Be a little bit more sophisticated than that. She put the word in there, so now you run it. So then, we already know when she said 100 million, all of us knew that was preposterous. But she put it out there.
Yeah.
Now, Tone did an interview. The man who's the foremost expert kindly said, respectful. I love Dr. Daddy because he's respectful. He didn't go all crazy about the woman. He just said like I keep telling you, multiple streams of thought. Either she had misinformed economists, or she made it up from whole cloth. I don't know. What I do know is the number is completely...
Number ain't right. Number ain't right.
Now, here's what my problem is with her. Pardon me?
I said the number ain't right, but go on. I'm sorry, Otis.
I mean, but he was respectful. Now,
yeah,
here's my thing.
Yeah, always.
Now, here's what I caught after listening to her 2 times in that Harvard lecture. She's supposed to be a morality guru and telling us about being centered in principle. But I'm going to tell you, I read several articles that reported that she said that 100 million. I didn't see anywhere where it said she said anything below 100 million is an insult. But when Reggie from Boston asked her specifically, that is what she pivoted to. I didn't just say 100 million. I said anything less than that. Now, I didn't see anything to support what she said. So I'm going to tell you how I am. As an old Negro, if you don't own up to being specifically wrong about something and you can deflect some kind of way to figure out how it ain't what I really said, but that's what I meant, I got a problem with you because I'm going to tell you again. I am not one. I believe that there's a supreme being, but I'm not one to believe that because you spit morality and etiquette and civility that you mean what you say. I don't get that. Then she did something else. She said that part of the problem with America is white people telling black people what to do. When Reggie followed up, are you willing to get with Mr. Garrity? She stated publicly, yes, I spoke with him. Now, you go back and check this. I spoke with him, but I'd be willing to have a follow-up engagement with him, preferably in public. Now, I'm going to tell you what I know about somebody that wants to do something in public.
What is it?
Every white person, pardon me?
I said, yeah, what is it? Tell me, Otis.
All of us know what it is. It's the same thing that happened to the HBCU presidents, the same thing that happened to them pastors that showed up at the White House. It's the same thing that's been happening to us for years. You get together, you had a public display of something, people got the pictures in the record, and we leave them empty-handed. Let me tell you something. I'm going to say this. I know Garrity is an expert. If you're willing to meet with Garrity, like most people that are negotiating seriously, and you have a serious discussion in closed sessions where you set the parameters on what's going to be said in public, moving on to water settlement, I'm with you, because I know this. Garrity is sharp enough not to be conned. But you can't tell me you want to have, and I'm going to give it to you with some more relevant here. It's the same problem I tried to warn Derek Hamilton about when he went on stage with the town hall with Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah, I remember that.
Don't get paraded out of the public arena and you ain't got no contractual evidence with anything written in any specific way. See, that's the kind of Negro I am. And look, please, kids, pick up the trash, try to be responsible, rinse the sink don't have no problem. And when you're going to go to these YouTube pages, as Tone said, why bother Tone when you've been armed with the energy and the information to take care of it? Do your part. Put the comments in there. Put a link to a show or information that you've learned, and then go about your business. You don't find crap and step on it and then decide, oh, man, I got that on my shoe. I think I'll put some on my behind, too. Come on, grow up, my people, grow up. If I don't see no progress in this, I'm going to have to start watching. Because watching it live and watching the chat makes me think some of these people ain't going to grow up. Never. And I can't take that. I demand better. I'm like Dr. Alexander. I refuse to stoop to mediocrity. But I don't mind trying to change this up so you can understand it. Peace and love, my sister. Peace
I appreciate you as always, Otis. Otis is going to be our last call. Oh, Otis wants y'all to grow up out of here. Y'all out here acting crazy. He tired of y'all. He tired. Y'all out here just throwing rocks and well, I'm gonna let Tone pick it up. I'm gonna let Yvette. Otis is tired. I'm tired too. Doggone it. Otis is tired of all of this shenanigans. You Negroes are not approved, some of you. Thank you, Otis, so much. You're right, y'all gotta pick up the trash. And don't throw the trash over here if you know how to pick it up. Like, if you got two hands, you pick up the trash and throw it away. You ain't gotta throw it and hit Tone in the forehead and hit me in the back of the head, plop. Like, no, I gave you. You got the trash. You can pick up the trash too. And I'm gonna tell you, some of y'all are real good at picking up the trash. Some of y'all have become experts at picking up the trash. Like, I think Otis is talking to those of you who are just really fumbling and falling. Some of you are really good. Like, I got to start sending direct messages. As some of you all hit that note just right, make the glass break. It is perfect. It is wonderful. So, as we get ready to go, 21st March, we're going to have a book club now and talk about this American slavery, American freedom. So don't forget to pick it up. Please. Don't forget to borrow your friend's book. I heard there's an audio book online somewhere. Maybe YouTube, maybe you can get that. I heard it. I haven't checked because I had already bought the book. But please go check around for like a free audio book if you just now getting it, you haven't had the opportunity or whatever. Please check for that because somebody sent me an email and said it's available and they got it and asked me to spread the word. I told them to put the link in the Breaking Brown Family page on Facebook. There's a Breaking Brown Family page on Facebook. I said, go put the link in the Breaking Brown Family page. I don't know what they did or not, though. People don't follow up. But anyway, I don't know what that happened, but that's what I'm telling you that, you need to check it out. We're going to have a book club. And, fam, until next time, unless something happens, this is the end of the show for today. And if something happens, I'll have to do a quick hit. I will, but hey, this is where we are. And let's keep it moving. Let's keep it going. Let's do what we got to do, fam. And until next time, fam, please finish your libations. Please hit that like button on your way out. Please go to subscribetobrown.com. to put your name on the mailing list. So my mailing list. If you want to know what our agenda items are and all this stuff, please go to ados101.com where you can get an idea and get that in your system and figure out exactly what's going on, what our agenda, what the mission is. Again, if you see a bot in our stuff, please hashtag bot alert and send that to me in my direct message so we can kind of get the bots out of there, the ones who are there, even though Twitter should really be the one verifying accounts, but I ain't going to talk about that. So if you want to go to Patreon, though, you go to patreon.com/ycarnell. You can subscribe to the newsletter as well. That's $2 a month. So whatever you want to do, fam. But for right now, just end your life. Just finish your libations and get ready for bed, and we'll do it again next time.